Good morning, You Say Podcast. Super excited about my guest today. We have been long friends for many years, since we were teenagers. We grew up together. We have many special memories together, but she has been on a journey for probably the last few years, and I just want her to share that. She shared it with me about 6 to 8 months ago, and she is starting a new journey that I'm super excited about. So today we are here to discuss what God has done in her life, for her to be able to show what God has done in her life. And if you've seen her around town, you've probably already seen it. But I want her to show in detail her journey, to tell us about her journey, and to tell how God answered prayer even when she didn't even realize it at the time. So today I would like to introduce Charnelle Whittemore. So good to have you, Charnelle. But I would like for you to start with your journey wherever you are comfortable starting with your journey, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay. Well, years back, I started getting really, really sick. I had a lot of symptoms. I won't go deep into all of the symptoms that I had, but enough to know that things were happening that were not normal with my body. I had very bad joint pain was one of the first ones. I went to several doctors, several rheumatologists. I continually had a positive ANA test, which doesn't mean you have an autoimmune disease, but it means that there's something going on, possibly. I ended up getting a misdiagnosis and just tried to learn to live with it. And then I got so bad that there were days that I couldn't even get out of the bed. And if you know, I run a real estate company. I'm very active in the community. That does not match with my personality. So it got really, really rough. And I was basically, I had two lives. I was living in a lot of pain, a lot of sickness at home, and out and about, I looked like everything was fine, on the outside. I was going for many, many Thai massages downtown here with Christina Libby's Christina Crawford, and I was doing anything that I could do except for drugs to get the pain to go away. I had not been there in a while because I was referred to a new doctor and ended up in a specialist office that immediately diagnosed me correctly. I had an autoimmune disease, psoriatic arthritis, and that affects your joints, your skin. I was already starting to cripple some in my fingers and my toes. And I was just blown away that I had been to so many doctors that had overlooked this.
Now, what period of time was this? Because you hear of so many women going through these things. So what period of time do you think this was?
Over 5 years.
Over 5 years.
Over
okay.
5 years of doctors not really taking the time to, I guess, test correctly. And God led me to this doctor. I walked in and she did not do one blood test or one x-ray, and she diagnosed me. Now, she did blood work later and the x-rays to confirm what I had, but it was a sad day, but it was also a relief. I'm not crazy. This is legit pain. Now maybe I can try to treat it and, see, how to take care of it. So I immediately got put on, medications that were, one was $12,500 a month to fight with insurance. I went through a lot with insurance companies, with the doctors, and then this medicine didn't work. So then I went on this medicine. I ended up getting so sick. And now fast forward, I was diagnosed December 31st of 2020. 2023. And I found out Christmas Day that I was going to be a grandmother. So I find out on Christmas Day, I'm going to be a grandmother. And then just 6 days later, I find out that I have arthritis, and not a good kind. So all I could think about was, how am I going to pick up my grandbaby? How am I going to walk? Fatigue is something that, unless you've experienced true fatigue, I'm just tired. There were days that I would sit in my car after a doctor's appointment and almost call my husband to come and pick me up. I didn't know how I was going to make it home. So then I would start thinking, how in the world am I going to help Tristan with this new grandbaby? That is, such a blessing. So fast forward, all different kinds of medications, very, very sick, losing my hair, skin irritations, I thought I was going to be relieved because I have the diagnosis. I can take the right medications now, right? but I got worse. I honestly got worse and sicker being on the medications that they had me on. They were so strong. There was one that was one dose away from what they use for chemotherapy. It was just awful. And I walked into Libby's massage one day in June. It was the day before Tristan's, or it was the day after Tristan's baby shower. And she said, "Where have you been?" I was like, "Well, I found out where my pain's coming from, so I didn't have to come as much for the massages and the Thai yoga." I tell her, and she says, "You have to see this doctor in Georgia. You have to go. It's a holistic doctor. It is in Georgia. Insurance doesn't pay for it, but they have helped me." And I won't tell her story because that is her story, but you've got to get in there.
And before you tell us about them, how many of us have gone to doctor after doctor after doctor, and nothing against, but you just feel like you never get any answers.
Right.
And whether it's hormonal, because I talk to women on a daily, we talk about our hormones and how nobody can, you try the patches, or you try this, or you try the pellets, or you try this, and some works for some and some doesn't work for others. And you just go around and you're like, brain fog is insane. And I'm just exhausted. And you feel like you're out of body, but nobody has the right answer for you.
And you know that there's something wrong.
Something's wrong.
You know your body and you know your health better than anybody else. And so I would walk out of, specialist office in the last 5 years so defeated, like, am I crazy? Like, is this in my mind? And I know it's not, because I'm not one to take a nap. I'm not one to slow down.
Either.
I don't seek out, oh, poor pitiful me. It just didn't match with anything that, the way
But
I
the
lived.
doctors don't see that when you walk in.
Right.
Because so many people do like being hypochondriacs, or they do like poor pitiful me, or something's always wrong with them. But like you said, that's not me. So when I go to a doctor's office, it's like you want to shake them sometime. Like, there is something wrong with me. I'm telling you, I'm not my normal self.
Yeah.
Like, there's something wrong. And the worst thing is when you walk out of that doctor's office feeling like you are crazy because nobody believes you.
Yes. And that happened to me for many years until this. So I did reach out to the doctor in Georgia. And like I said, it's a holistic doctor. Insurance does not pay for it. It was not cheap. It was a big commitment, not only financially, but mentally, physically, everything, because I had to also drive. It's right on the outskirts of Atlanta, Georgia. But when I found out all the information and I told my husband, Michael, he said, "Make an appointment right now." I was like, "No, let me think on this. Let me pray about this." He's like, "What is there to think about and pray about? Call them back." And it was like 5 minutes till 5. And I remember thinking, that's a lot of money and time and driving. Let me just wait till tomorrow. And he said, "But tomorrow that appointment might be gone that he just said he has," so he was so supportive. And I made that call, made an appointment. We were up there, and I think it was 3 weeks later in June of 2024, I got accepted as a patient. If you live more than 3 hours away, you can get accepted as a distant patient after your first appointment. Then you do have to go back for some follow-ups, but I was able to do everything from phone and email. What they do, it is just so incredible. Instead of looking at the patient and saying, "Okay, this is what's wrong, let us treat it," which is what modern medicine does. And, and I get that, but they look at the issue that you have. And I'd had tests done, that saliva test, urinalysis, blood work, testing I had never heard or seen the name of, to get to the root of what caused the autoimmune disease. So they were able to nail it down to my gut health is very important. And my gut was actually not healthy. And when I was eating foods, even if they were healthy foods, my body was putrefying it, and it was turning into toxins into my system built up, which over time can create, the outburst that I had with, psoriatic arthritis. So then I had the skin issues, and I had the joint issues, and, starting to cripple issues. And so they got to the bottom of that, and then they created a plan for me. And my plan was hard. One of the hardest things I have ever done in my life. as a result of it, I am off 7 medications. I do not take one pill today. And I've been off of that for quite some time.
Now, does that include your hormones? Like you're not even doing hormone
Nothing.
therapy?
No hormone therapy. My doctor kept telling me, if you get healthy, your hormones will get healthy. And I'm like, okay, we'll see. We might still need to check those, sometimes, but I was on hormone replacement. I was on steroids. I was on, I won't say all the names of the drugs but for the joint pain. And, it was overwhelming because I was a healthy patient until I wasn't. I never took medicine. I hate medicine. I can't barely swallow it. I always joked and said, if I ever had to have a pill to keep me alive, I was in trouble, because just remembering to take it and try to swallow the pill, not good. And I ended up on 7 medications that I was taking 2 times a day. And then as a result, like I said, I'm off of all the medication, and I have been for probably 7 or 8 months now. I've not taken any medication, maybe longer than that. And I've lost 70 pounds, which was not a weight loss journey, but because of the plan that I did to heal my gut and try to get in remission with the autoimmune disease, it gets you healthy, and obviously losing weight is healthy.
I remember that was one thing after you and I had met and we were talking about it, that you said, I didn't do it for the weight loss. Mm-hmm. I did it because I literally was dying right before my eyes, because that's how you felt. You felt like you were dying.
Yes.
And isn't it amazing? A couple of things you were talking that I thought about is, number one, when you went to Libby's and she told you about the doctor and you called the doctor, and it's like God paved that path.
Oh, yes.
That was that was a God appointed time, because you had not been to Libby's, in almost a year?
Yes. And she actually said, what are we doing today? And I said, I don't even know. Why am I here? What is my appointment? It was just a divine appointment to be with her. It still just gives me goosebumps. I think we ended up doing, I think I told her I wanted to tell you. She's like, no, we're going to do a massage. And she did something different. She did what she thought I needed that day. Because I had it booked for so long, and I had not been there in so long.
And you almost didn't go.
Yeah.
You almost canceled the appointment, but you went. And then God paved the path. And still, isn't it amazing how God will put us on the path that we need? And still, right before we get our victory, we say, hold up. I can't. And Michael said, no, you need to do this.
Yeah.
And the second thing that you said is it was hard.
Oh.
And as humans and as Christians, so many times we want to take the easy path.
Oh, yes.
And then we wonder why we still don't feel good, and why still prayers are not answered, or whatever may be the case. But sometimes it is a hard thing. God didn't say everything was going to be easy. Never said it would be easy. He just said, I'll never leave you nor forsake you.
Right.
And so a lot of times we don't want to talk about, we want to talk about all the other things in life that we need to correct to the Word of God. But the Word of God still says that our body is a temple.
Yes.
And we are to treat it that way. And what we put in our body is what we're going to get out of it.
That's right.
And I do, I'm not perfect by any means. You are definitely 100% better than I am. But me and you have had that personal talk, because I've had some personal things that I'm like, hey, Charnelle, what did you do in this case? What did you eat? Because I think you get to the end of your rope when you really know that the medicine is not going to truly help you and fix, like you said, the root of the problem. Because there is a root to the problem.
Right.
And I feel like medicine is so good. It is. There are reasons that we need medicine. But a lot of times it's just a Band-Aid for the root of the actual problem.
Yes.
And so you are here on a journey that I want you to explain that God has put you on to really help people in this situation.
Yes. So I've been on the program. I started last July. So this past July, and what is this, September? So I've been on it, 14 months. Like I said, it was not easy, but the biggest part of it, besides getting, some toxins and parabens and different things out of my household, that it showed my environmental studies were really high with pesticides. It's like, okay, well, I don't even spray pesticides, but that comes on our fruits and our vegetables, and it can be in water. And so just learning how to, specific water to drink, doing fasting, liquid fasting, letting your gut heal.
Can you tell me some specific things that were really high in your home that you used every day that maybe we don't think about?
Oh, everything. If you read the back of everything, if it's not a clean, product that you've purposely sought out, because that's what really gets me fired too, is when you go to the store, you can't just grab something that's probably not going to be toxic. You have to seek out the clean products. But for us, it was soaps and lotions, and perfume has it. And there are some things I just couldn't give up. and my perfume is one of them.
Well, and like we said, it's hard and it's expensive
hard.
a lot of times. So what we do is we're like, okay, well, I know it's going to take time to read all the ingredients. I know it's going to take time to eat right. It's going to take time to prep the food. So we as humans and Americans, we take the easy route because it's easy.
And also it's affordable.
Yes.
When you're not, well, it's still expensive, but it's affordable when you're not trying to get, organic. So, sometimes it just really gets me so fired up that, that there are some families that would go to the store and it's going to be a matter of getting this or getting nothing because they can't afford that. Sweet potatoes was on my plan. I had to eat a lot of sweet potatoes. And I just remember vividly, I would go to Whole Foods or Fresh Market. Now I go to mostly Publix because I've learned what I can get there and what I can't. But sweet potatoes were 99 cents a pound. And for organic, they were $3.99 a pound. And that is it. Well, that's a whole nother podcast.
Right.
It's like, why? Come on, we've got to get this together because, most people are purchasing what they're able to purchase. And it was a very expensive change for me to have to get, and then you still can't guarantee that it's as clean as you need it to be. But what I want everyone to really take away from this, if nothing else, is that what is around us in our environment, certain candles or lotions. I never thought I'd be that crunchy mom or crunchy grandmother, as they call them. But this has been eye-opening to me because it's not a story I heard or I saw from someone else. It is a story that I lived, and seeing my results of what was so high in my household. And so I had to swap out, soaps, and my husband had one rule: we can't get rid of Dawn. That you can't get rid of Dawn, and I can't get rid of my perfume. But everything else, we try to do a cleaning products, try to do a cleaner, option. But the biggest thing for me was foods. I honestly, 85% of this program has just been learning to eat whole foods. Whole foods. If you have to put more than 2 ingredients together to make something, think about what is going in it. So I couldn't eat but certain things for so long. And this is where I will really get emotional that it wasn't meant to starve me, but it was meant for a lot of fasting, liquid fasting, and very little food so that my digestive tract could heal. And immediately you're told you can't eat but 2 times a day. This is all you can eat, and no more coffee. Coffee is a digestive disruptor. No more seasonings and pepper. I mean, it was just like, no coffee. What? I cried over and I was a foodie. I mean, I still am a foodie. I like food, but I cried over the coffee worse than I cried over the food.
I'm a coffee girl.
I loved my coffee, but I knew that for my granddaughter that was going to be born, I could do anything I put my mind to. And I don't stick to anything and don't have willpower. But I had to change that mentality that this is going to be worth it and it's going to work. And if it would not have been for my husband, I'm telling you, I would have never made it through this program because there were so many days that I was weak. 4:00 would come and I'd just hit the bar and I'd sit down, in this bar stool and just look. I'm like, he's like, I've got you. I've got you. And every night I'd just sit there. It got better. It's not like that now. I mean, I'm like, I'm hangry. I'm on my way home, getting the steak on, But for so long when I couldn't eat much and I was going through the first probably 3 months of just transitioning and not eating any carbs, and not eating any, or not drinking coffee, not having any caffeine whatsoever. It was rough.
Because your body goes through a detox.
Oh, absolutely.
And
absolutely.
That's not a good, it is a good place to be, but it's hard. It's a hard
I mean, I would hang up crying from friends. You want to go out to dinner? That we've been planning to go to that restaurant for. It was almost like I forgot that I won't get to do that again. We want instant gratification with everything, and we want to do that right now. But sometimes you just have to live now so that you can live later. And that's what I really, learned. And so then, I started seeing how many people were, they saw a difference in me. I had a difference. Now, I did lose most of my hair, and everybody has seen that now I'm rocking short hair, and I never have in my whole adult life. It's coming back long. But when you do such a deep detox, you will lose hair, and it is very natural. My new growth is to about right here. So we're almost there, and then I can grow it back out. But it got scary, but the good thing is my hair came in so much more healthy. My skin is the healthiest it has been in the last year, it's just so much better. My body, skin everywhere, even with this psoriasis. So that's been really neat. And my doctor would tell me that. He's like, I'm telling you, it will grow in probably even thicker and better. It did still grow in gray. So I don't know. I need my money back for that. But it was just so neat, all the transition that I've seen my body take. So I started having people reach out to me. And when I say people, I mean a lot of people, people I knew, people I kind of knew, but I would start getting text messages, phone calls, run into someone in the store. They saw a difference in me and they couldn't figure out what it was. Well, everyone saw the weight loss, but it wasn't really about, I'm not sad about it. And I actually still have to lose 30 more pounds to finish my program. I may not stay at that weight, but the doctor says, get all of the excess weight down to your skeletal gone, and it flushes out the toxins, and you can be in remission and start fresh and new with new cells, will be regenerated. I still have 30 pounds and I'm working on that. But, what I realized is how much everybody else wanted to feel like I felt. They were seeing it and the door was opening because of the weight loss. What are you doing? But the truth is, yes, we can be vain as women. Men can be vain and we want to look a certain way, but we really want to feel a certain way.
We do.
You don't
We
want
wanna
to
feel
get to
better.
2:00 and you're
Right.
like, I can't make it through the day.
Right.
And that's, how my life was. So now it's like, this is a great benefit. And I got a whole new wardrobe. Yay. Costs a lot more money than just the
Right.
doctor. Cause now you got to buy all new clothes. I lost a shoe size. So
Wow.
I had to buy new shoes. I had to buy new clothes, a lot of stuff. But the way I feel, you cannot put a price tag on it. So over time, I confided in a couple people, really close to me and that I knew, were God-fearing, praying women. And I'm like, I know that God is going to use me with this. I just don't know how. I know that God is going to use me. I just don't know how. And I'd see him again. What's going on? I don't know. And then things were planted, some seeds were planted and it just didn't work. I just never had peace about it. And I talked to you about that. I don't know. I was supposed to talk to you about one of them and we couldn't get together and then something happened. And then by the time we got together, it was like, oh no, God already said that's not for me. But I believe it was in June. I was at an event and it was like, me and my signs from God, but I believe in them. God will just give you a sign. And it was just clear as day to help others doing this in the medical capacity. And so right then I started praying and I started looking and I went back to school to be a functional medicine health coach. I can't believe I'm even saying that because I just turned 50 years old this year and you don't learn the same way. But I am in school to become a functional medicine health coach. I want to help others feel the way that I feel and to know that it is possible. And it doesn't even mean that you have to have an autoimmune disease to feel better. I'm going to throw this in there. My husband doesn't have an autoimmune disease. He has the worst acid reflux you've ever, he just has the worst and he has since we've been together and he's 55 years old and we've been together since we were 19 and 24. I do not know him to not be on some type of medicine. And the latest was, years of prescription. He could drink water. I joke like you drink water and you're so sick and he had such bad gut issues. When we were at my doctor's office last, he said, what do you think about me seeing him for this issue? And I said, I think it's a great idea. Well, he immediately, no, once we get you better. And I'm like, no, let's go ahead and make an appointment. No, once we get you, let's get you paid for and let's get you better. And then we'll worry about me. So then.
Did you turn his words on?
What's that?
That he told you? Did you turn his words on him and say, wait a second, go
Yep.
make the appointment?
Yep. But when we got home and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and set up another appointment for me, and I'm going to make him one when we go back. But I walked in the kitchen one night and I said, will you trust me? And he said, yes. I said, full trust to do what I say and what I've done and what I think will help you to get off that medicine. Because, if you don't know, that medicine is also bad for you. It has all these other side effects.
Right.
He was on, I won't say the name, but it was a pretty high dose acid reflux medicine. And he was like, I'll do it. And he was already eating most of what I was eating, maybe add a little bit. And then he would still go do lunch on his own or something. he accidentally, and I say accidentally because he didn't need to lose 30 pounds in my opinion, but he accidentally lost 30 pounds doing this, just eating what was in the house. And and then people were going up to him and saying, how did you lose so much weight? And he's like, or what are you doing? He said, it's what I'm not doing. It's what I'm not eating. Well, I started him taking his medicine every week to every other week to every third week. And he was on it every day. And he started eating everything that I was eating, taking my advice that I got and learned from my doctor. And then if you don't know about me, I'm going to dig so deep because I just love to learn. He is now 8 or 9 months. He's not, it's probably longer than that, but I know for sure 8 months, he has not taken one pill for it, not one. So that shows you, and now I can make spaghetti from scratch. And he could never eat red sauce, and I'll make it from scratch and it doesn't have all the preservatives and all the dyes and all the junk. And, and he's like, oh my gosh, I can eat red sauce again.
And I think the thing that consumes a lot of people, and I know it consumes me, is number one, what do I do? Where do I go from here? Because I've gotten to the point to where when somebody says, hey, I have a good woman doctor and she's helped with my hormones, I'm grasping at calling these people. Okay, number one. But number two, since I've talked to you, I'm excited to start the journey, even though I'm going to go ahead and tell you it's going to be hard. But I think you get to the point to where you don't know what else to do. Like you got to the point to where I'm to the point to where I'm almost 50 years old. I feel so out of body that if it's hard, then I'm ready to take on that hard thing. But then again, we think about if somebody has young kids, if it's a mom, if somebody's financially lives week to week to week, can I really do this? Yes. Is this reasonable for me to do? Because like you said, make it from scratch. We lost a lot of people right there because they're like, I don't have time to do that. I'm not financially able to do that. Mm-hmm. So can you kind of talk a little bit about that and like you said, I think we need to do a part 2 on that because I think that's very important. Does everybody have to make it from scratch? Mm-hmm. Is there another way that you can go about eating good and it maybe not be so expensive?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. So I have found almost anything that I want to have that I still pretty much only eat whole foods, meat, vegetable, eggs, avocado, berries because they're lower in sugar content. So I mostly eat that. But if it's going to be like a Thanksgiving, Christmas, a birthday, or it's just a cheat day, we're human. I still want it to be the cleanest products to go in my body. And I have found almost anything that I want to. When I couldn't eat, I sat and wrote recipes and created my own ranch dressing from scratch and my own cream of chicken soup from scratch because I couldn't cook. And I had just kind of oddly fell in love with cooking and really got good at it finally. And now I can't cook. I'm having meat on the grill and some squash. So I sat and I kind of just spent a lot of time writing out these recipes. Well, then once I could start, going shopping and making other things, I found that all of those are really in a can, in a jar. It might be a little bit more, but for mothers or just families that don't have time, you can almost find anything in a can or a jar or a box that you don't have to do it from scratch and has clean ingredients. So my advice would be to learn how to read the label. I have an app. It's called Bobby app. Everybody has their own kind, but I used Bobby. And that's what taught me. I don't use him anymore because I know it. But I would scan the back of or the barcode. I would scan it of everything. And then it will tell you no. And I'm like, but I want to know why it's a no. And then it would break it down and tell you no, and this is why, and this is what it causes. Or sometimes, if you're going to make a pecan pie for Thanksgiving or Christmas, it's going to have sugar in it. So it's going to say no to that, one of those ingredients, but at least it's high fructose corn syrup or whatever. So, yes, Publix is really good. They have their own brand. Winn-Dixie now has their own brand that is coming along because at one time you couldn't find anything good in Winn-Dixie. Fresh Market, Whole Foods tends to be a little expensive, and it's not right here. But I just read the back of the labels if I am going to. I just have enjoyed doing it from scratch. But no, you absolutely don't have to. And it would be, less less time consuming.
Well, I'm going to put a plug in. We need a cookbook from Charnelle Whittemore.
Oh, gosh.
And at the end of the cookbook, we need a list of what we can buy just in case somebody doesn't have time to do. Because in all reality, not everybody has time to read the labels.
Yes.
Or if they do have time, they just don't take the time. So that's when it becomes, you know what, today it's just going to be this. And then we
Yes.
grab something that's not good for us because, like we stated earlier, it's just easier.
Yes, absolutely.
For us to do.
Yes. And it's funny you say that because that is something that's been laid on my heart to work on for when I have a client that does sign up with me. Once I actually, I'll be seeing clients before my graduation because I have to have some, points for that. But I do want to do a cookbook. It would be just a small one, that has all the things that I have written. I have literally dissected like the back of cream. I was a casserole making something now. I love casseroles. I've not had a casserole in 14 months, but everything I cooked was with cream of chicken soup. If you read the back of that, it's really not good. And you've got fake stuff in there, and then learning and diving into, if something says it has natural flavors. Well, the truth is to have natural flavors, all they have to do is derive just a small percentage from that orange on that orange tree and take it back to the labs and add up to, it's over 100 different additives now that they can do. That they can add. So if you see something, artificial flavors is obviously bad, but natural flavors, if it's not grouped with a lot of other good ingredients, it probably isn't really a natural flavor either. So those are all the things that, nerdy side of me that, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it and I'm going to know it and I'm going to help. But just over time of all the people, I've been asked if I had surgery. I've been asked if I was taking the shots that people are taking to lose weight. And I understand, it was kind of frustrating because I'm like, no, this is blood, sweat, and tears, honey, but I understand it because everybody wants that relief of, whatever their why is. My why was, I think I got too comfortable and in love and I was happy, but I didn't feel good. The size, was kind of secondary to that.
And I think you had a will to live.
Yes. I had a will to live.
When I think of your story, you had a will to live.
Yes.
And I think it comes down to that is how bad do we want to live? Because if we do continue on the journey that we are on, one day it's going to take us out in one way or another.
Yeah.
And somebody's story is not going to be my story. Your story is not going to be my story of, when the good Lord takes us home.
Right.
And I always hear when we talk about, something bad for us, well, we got to die some way or the other.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but that is the most stupidest
when
thing
you
that I've
can't
ever heard.
Open a jar with a can opener, or I could barely pick up my pots and pans. I mean, that starts getting scary, and your quality of life, is just not good. But some people don't even realize how bad they feel.
Correct. Because they don't even know what it feels like to be normal or to feel good again.
Yeah.
And as women going through hormone changes, and I say this because I hear women say it all the time, and I know you said the same thing, and I want to get back to what you're working on and where you're at with that. But we just don't even know sometimes we're so used to feeling tired and brain fogged, and my mind goes squirrel all the time that we don't even know what it feels like to even feel normal and our body not to hurt anymore.
Yes. And what's so neat for me is now I live such a clean, I always say I live about a 90% clean life because there's that 10% of, now in the beginning I stayed home and that's not feasible to just never go out, but after the first 3 months and I kind of, started just taking my lunch everywhere I went, or just didn't have anything and maybe made that day a fast day. I would like to say I live about a 90% clean life. I leave 10% because the first 3 months was really hard. I didn't go anywhere at all and tried to stay home or at the office and, had full control of everything that I ate. But of course, that's not feasible. Sometimes you're part of organizations or you have something going on with friends or church. You're going to go places that you're not going to be fully in control of what you're going to eat. So I just kind of plan ahead of what I can get that's the best of what they have there. So I live about 90% clean. With that being said, now when I go off track a little bit and I go off track again a second time, you can start feeling it come back. You can literally, I cannot get off plan. So when people are like, just have that, you can't, because I can start feeling the joint pain and all of that starts coming back to me. And I'm like, oh, no, 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 no. I've worked way too hard and, gotten too far with this. But that's just what I decided I wanted to share with other people. I had so many messages, so many texts, so many phone calls when I run into people like, oh my gosh, you look great. What are you doing? But then you get into deep conversation and you find out it's not just about people wanting to lose weight. There are people, I had a friend one time tell me, she said, skinny people can be unhealthy too.
Amen.
But so many people just think about the weight,
Yep.
but skinny people can be unhealthy too. You can run circles around me and I'm smaller than you. And that's so true. So that's really just what opened up my heart. I was like, not everybody in this area is going to be able to go to almost Atlanta, Georgia. Not everybody's going to be able to afford that price point. I mean, it was a lot. And I want to bring something back here to our local community that is feasible, that is affordable. I don't need another title. I don't need the fame. I don't need another job. I don't need the money. I don't need any of that. But I knew that God was going to use me to do this. And I'm so passionate about it. Obviously, real estate is not going anywhere. I've been in real estate for 20 years, have a strong running company, not leaving real estate, but this will be my little, side thing to help people. I don't know how I'm going to work it into my schedule yet. I don't know how it's going to go because I've just let God lead the steps of how this is going to be. I know that I've asked you to be one of my first clients.
So pray for me.
Yeah, I have to have, some clinical time while I'm in school, and I have to do some coaching sessions for my graduation, which is way down the road because I did a board certified program. I didn't go online and say, oh, where could I be a functional medicine health coach or just a health coach in 3 months?
Right.
I went on there and I said, where's the best school? Where am I going to learn the most? And I'll be honest, if I can be a little stingy, I did it for others, but I'm weak. We're busy. We go on vacation. I run a company. And just like that, I could fall off the wagon and I feel too good. And I went too far with the hard days. And I thought, how much will this help me? And that's, I'm already in school and they do teach that some people just come and do it for them, for themselves. And it's kind of just refreshed me. Kind of like when you go to church on Sunday, you're like, fill me up, God, fill me up. I kind of do that with my class,
Right.
I do that because it's reminders. Most of it so far I know, and which is so exciting. I knew it because I dug in so deep for me, but that's the stuff I want to know it enough to help you. And so I'm really excited about it.
And to see that my biggest thing is when we talked is I saw what it did to you. I had no idea that you were almost bedbound until you told me. And you told me your family didn't. Other than Michael, nobody really even knew because you hid it from somebody. Yeah. And as women and as moms and grandmas, we do that because it's not about us. We're so taught it's not about you.
You don't want them to worry.
That's right. You're put on the back burner. And so we learn that culture when we're raising children. And even when they get out of our house, we kind of keep that culture still.
Yes.
And so for years, bringing up children, we've put our health, our mindset, our needs on the back burner. Mm-hmm. And it is so refreshing after I talk to you. I don't think I told you this, but I literally cried all the way home and just thank God for an answered prayer because when you asked me to be one of your, students, that was an answer of prayer to me because I feel like I've gone to the end of the rope and I'm like, Lord, I've tried the hormone replacement. It didn't work with me. I started having side effects. My hair started falling out. I started having, issues with my skin that I have never had a day in my life, and I go to a dermatologist and they're like, oh, you have eczema. And I'm like, what? I'm 40 something years old. And I started talking to you and you're like, Gina, it's a gut issue. It is just at the end of the day, it's a gut issue. And just to hear that, yes, it's going to be hard. That's why I say pray for me because I know you're going to tell me some things I'm not going to like, most likely.
Probably not.
No, exactly. But you're telling me in love, and I know that. And it's coming from, you're not just somebody saying, hey, try this medication, or hey, let's run all these tests and now try this.
Yes.
It is, and not that that's bad because doctors are great and God gave us doctors for a reason. But there are time for certain doctors in your life. And I truly feel like I've come to the point of, in my hormone journey, that in my body hurting, or, I went to a doctor one time years ago and I said, my body just hurts. And they ran all these tests and ran all the arthritis tests you could run and all that kind of stuff. And it came back and it said, oh, you have fibromyalgia. And I was like, and so I asked, I said, how do you know that? Is there a test that shows? And this doctor looked me in the face and said, no, that's just what we say if we can't find out what it is.
Yep.
And she said, I'm telling you that because that's exactly what it is. She's like, there's this medicine I can put you on. And I'm like, I don't want to take that medicine. I had a friend that was on it, had really bad side effects from it. And this doctor, out of love and care, was telling me the truth. She was just like, Gina, I'm just really not sure, which, come to the bottom of it, it's been a gut issue my whole entire few years of dealing with this and me not knowing it. Mm-hmm. But I didn't choose the medicine route because I knew what it would do to me. And I'm like, I might as well just deal with it.
Right. Well, and unfortunately, medical doctors are absolutely needed, like you said.
Absolutely.
But they're only given, 15 minutes, and they have such demand. They have to reach, they have to have numbers at the end of the day. And some of them are just put in a situation where they can't sit and really talk and listen. And something that's really cool is it's in the works for a health coach to have a CPT code now to be able to build insurance if it all goes through and gets approved. They're trying to match up health coaches in doctors' offices, in nurse practitioners' offices, because they see the benefit in it now, where this doctor, is going to be able to diagnose. A health coach doesn't actually diagnose. They get to the root and then say, okay, now let's work backwards, where a doctor is going to diagnose and give the medicine. So now they're wanting to bring health coaches in to all all practitioners' offices. Will that happen? I'm not sure, but it's sure in the right direction, because we can take an hour or more and sit down and say, let's get to the root of what all is going on, because it is also, there's spiritual part, there's the mental part, there's physical part. I went through a lot of extensive questions with my doctor of, spiritual, mental, physical, your relationships. It all plays a part in your health.
And that's what we don't think either. Trauma. If you've been through trauma, you had that conversation. It's not just about what you eat. It's also your emotional state. Yes. And, and like you said, I have a wonderful doctor. I love my family doctor. We are personal friends. I love her. But like you said, I know she is so busy. She gets about 15 to 20 minutes with you, and then you go run the tests, and then the tests take forever, because everybody's so busy, because it just seems like the medical world is just bombarded anymore. But I truly feel that a big percentage of our problem is what we put into our body.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And if you can get to the root of that, then I feel like a lot of our issues, which are a living testimony to it, would be resolved. So I'm excited. You're bringing hope to our community. That's just what I think about it is I just see true hope that a lot of the women in surrounding counties need, is that you're going to be able to bring. So I'm going to let you finish it up with kind of where you're at with that, when you'll be finished, when you'll be able to start seeing people or talk to people, and how they can reach out.
Mm-hmm. So I will graduate August of next year. I can actually see clients prior to that. During my studies, I will have certain people that I will have coaching sessions with. I will put out more information about that. If we do a part 2, maybe I will know more specifics by then, but it's coming soon.
Okay. So I think we should, maybe next month or the month after, we'll do a part 2. Mm-hmm. We'll kind of come back together, discuss how easy maybe it is to cook, maybe go on the food route to where, because I know we are going to probably get a lot of questions from this podcast, because I just know in my group of women that almost everybody's dealing with it.
Yeah.
Almost everybody. And many of us have tried several different hormone doctors and specialists to go to. Some of them it has kind of helped. I don't know one woman that it has completely taken all of her symptoms away, besides you. But like you said, it's a hard journey. So we'll go and discuss that. But thank you for being with us. And
Absolutely.
I love you with all my heart.
Love you. Thank you for inviting me.
If you do have questions, like you said, we are going to have a part 2 with Charnelle. And at that point, she can probably give her information out on how you can contact her. But I'm super excited about this. I'm excited how the Lord has answered prayer in my life. And I'm so excited to see Charnelle's journey and how the Lord is going to use her. We're going to pray, and then we will see you on the next podcast. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, I want to thank you for hope. God, I want to thank you, Lord, for the wisdom that you give doctors. I want to thank you for our medical service and what they are here to bless us with. God, I want to thank you for Charnelle and her journey. I want to thank you, Lord, of how she's opened up. Lord, the new journey that you've put her on. Lord, how you've answered prayer. And Lord, what you're going to bring to our community. I am so excited about it. Lord, your word is true. And you said our body is a temple. And God, we are supposed to take care of it. And I just pray, dear Heavenly Father, Lord, for her journey. I pray, Lord, that you'd give her wisdom through her school, as I know it is a hard thing to kind of start over at our age. But God, Lord, I know that you've put her on this path. She knows that you've put her on this path, and I know that you'll not leave her nor forsake her, Lord. And I just pray, Lord, that you would use her in a mighty, mighty way in this community. Lord, I just want to thank you for your goodness, Lord, how you've healed her on this journey, Lord, for her and her family. I thank you for her and what she means to me in your precious heavenly name. Amen.